Welcome to qnawire.
Hello students, the question asked is, name two sugars in the grape juice that can be used by the yeast in the fermentation process, and for each also indicate whether they are monosaccharide, disaccharide or trisaccharide. The two sugars in grape juice that can be used by yeast in the fermentation process are glucose and fructose, and both these sugars are monosaccharide. Another question also is, in wine, what is the highest amount of alcohol in terms of percentage that is possible by fermentation alone? And explain why there is an upper limit. So the highest amount of alcohol in wine that is possible by fermentation alone is around 15 to 20%, and there is an upper limit because yeast cells can only tolerate a certain concentration of alcohol. As the alcohol concentration increases, it becomes more toxic to yeast cells, eventually killing them and stopping the fermentation process. Another question asked is, after we add the champagne yeast, which is a facultative anaerobe, we placed a water-filled airlock on the flask or bottle for the time while the grape juice was fermenting into wine. The water-filled airlock is designed so that the gases generated during the alcoholic fermentation can escape from the flask or bottle, but no gases can get into the flask or bottle from the outside. Now the question is, which gas is escaping? The gas that is escaping during alcoholic fermentation is the carbon dioxide, and it is produced as a byproduct of the fermentation process by the yeast, which converts sugars into the alcohol. Another question is, as alcohol fermentation is occurring, do you think the concentration of oxygen inside the flask bottle increases or decreases, or why? So as alcohol fermentation is occurring, the concentration of oxygen inside the bottle decreases. This is because the yeast cells consume oxygen during fermentation. As a facultative anaerobe, the yeast can then switch to anaerobic respiration, which is fermentation when oxygen levels are low, but it will still consume any available oxygen in the process. The airlock prevents additional oxygen from entering the flask or bottle, so the overall oxygen concentration decreases as fermentation proceeds. I hope you found the video useful. Thank you.